God is about to open a door so big, it will shift the entire story of your life. Not just a new chapter, not just a breakthrough. I'm talking about a divine disruption so profound that when it opens, everything behind you will make sense. Every closed door, every painful no, every delay that had you on your knees will suddenly stand up as evidence that God was not denying you, He was preparing you. You see, God is not in the business of random blessings. He is intentional. He is precise. He moves with purpose and operates on a higher timetable. What you thought was a setback was actually divine strategy. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. Because there is a door that's coming, and it's not just for access, it's for transformation. This door isn't made by man, and it's not something you can manipulate or manufacture. It is built by the invisible hand of heaven, carved out in the corridors of eternity, and prepared for the exact moment when your character matches your calling. Because if God had opened it too soon, it would have overwhelmed you. But now, after the fire, after the wilderness, after the betrayal and the waiting and the warfare, you're ready. People who saw you as average are about to witness a shift they can't explain. Those who walked out on you will be unable to walk past what God is about to do through you. They'll have to stop and say, this had to be God. Because no degree, no network, no human connection could open what's about to open. This is a divine door, and when God opens it, no man can shut it. You've been praying for a way out, but God is giving you more than escape. He's giving you elevation. This isn't just about coming out, it's about going up. It's about walking into a space that's so saturated with purpose, so thick with destiny that your old identity can't even come with you. The person who suffered, who doubted, who almost gave up, they won't fit through this door. Only the version of you that survived, that grew, that refused to let go of the promise will walk through. This door will not just change your life. It will change the legacy you leave behind. It will affect your children and their children. Because when God shifts your story, He doesn't just edit the ending. He rewrites the entire narrative. Suddenly, the things that didn't make sense begin to serve a divine purpose. The pain begins to preach, the rejection becomes revelation, the isolation becomes a sanctuary, the silence becomes strategy. I'm not talking about a small opportunity. I'm talking about a door that moves the axis of your destiny, a door that brings you into rooms you weren't supposed to be in, not by man's standards, but by heaven's authority, a door that commands respect, a door that restores what was lost, a door that redeems the time the enemy tried to steal. You've cried long enough, you've toiled long enough, you've questioned and wrestled and walked through nights so dark that you forgot what hope looked like. But I came to tell you, light is coming, favor is coming, acceleration is coming. What took others 10 years, God is about to do in 1. And when it happens, it won't be because of your resume. It will be because of your resilience. It will be because you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit. The storm didn't stop you, and the silence didn't break you. That's why the door is opening. That's why the heavens are shifting. That's why favor is about to locate you in a way that overwhelms even your imagination. Because you've been refined, you've been emptied, and now you're ready to be filled. God is about to open a door so big that even your enemies will have to testify. Not because they want to, but because the evidence will be too loud to deny. The story they told about you will be swallowed by the story God writes through you, and the glory will belong to Him alone. Get ready. This isn't a seasonal change. It's a spiritual shift. And when it happens, you won't have to chase it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't even have to announce it. The door will announce you. The shift will speak for itself. And the God who saw you in secret is about to reward you openly in ways eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and hearts have not yet imagined. You've waited, questioned, prayed, and watched others walk through doors you thought were yours. At times, it felt like the heavens were silent, as if your effort was being ignored and your faithfulness dismissed. But what you must understand and hold tightly to is that when God moves, He does not operate according to earthly clocks or human calendars. He is not rushed by your desperation, nor is he distracted by your impatience. His timing is not just perfect, it is strategic, it is surgical, it is customized for the weight of the purpose he placed inside you. God is not simply trying to get you to the next level, he's preparing you to sustain it once you arrive. Many people want the door, but they don't want the discipline. They crave the platform, but avoid the process. But the kingdom of God does not work that way. What he has ordained for you cannot be touched by another, but it also cannot be rushed by emotion or ambition. If you move too fast, you'll reach a place your character cannot hold. If you run too soon, the pressure of the promise will collapse the foundation of your inner world. That's why God will sometimes keep the door locked, not to keep you out, but to keep you from falling apart once you walk through. You see, God is not a God of random events. He is a God of divine patterns. He weaves delays into design. He hides purpose in the midst of what seems like disappointment. He is not only watching your steps, he is orchestrating them. Every closed door that made you cry, every unanswered prayer that made you question your worth, every painful waiting season that stretched you to the limit, none of it was wasted. All of it was training ground. The timing you called late was actually layered with preparation. While you were asking when, God was developing who. Who you were becoming mattered more to him than how quickly you got there. And that's because the size of the door you're about to walk through requires more than talent or charisma. It requires weight, spiritual weight, mental maturity, emotional endurance. God is not sending you through any ordinary door. This door will carry influence. This door will carry legacy. This door will carry glory. And if you walk through it without the depth to carry what comes with it, you'll collapse beneath the very thing you prayed for. So he waited. He watched. He allowed you to be humbled. He allowed you to be refined. He allowed you to be emptied of self so that you could be filled with him. It's not that he forgot you. It's that he was forming you. The longer the wait, the greater the weight he intends to place on your life. And what felt like a delay was actually God choosing not to waste the destiny he wrote for you. If he's going to open a door that shifts the entire story of your life, he must first make sure you are ready to carry the shift and not be crushed by it. The pressure, the pruning, the stretching, they were not punishments. They were preparation. And the proof that God is close to releasing it is the intensity of the process you just endured. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are right where heaven needs you to be. You are standing on the edge of something so massive that time had to be bent to make you fit. The door you are waiting for isn't late. It's being built to the exact specifications of your calling. While others are chasing temporary platforms, you are being entrusted with eternal purpose. And that cannot be rushed. Every tear became a tool. Every disappointment sharpened your discernment. Every quiet season taught you to hear God's whisper above the noise. You learned how to walk by faith and not by sight. You discovered how to trust God when you had no blueprint and no backup plan. And now, because you didn't give up, because you didn't take shortcuts, because you chose obedience over popularity, you are being positioned for a door that only God could open. And when it opens, you won't have to force it. You won't have to explain it. You won't even have to knock, because the door will recognize the weight of what you carry. Heaven will know your name, not because you pushed your way through, but because you waited well. And the shift that follows won't just elevate you. It will vindicate every moment you thought was wasted. So hold on, not because you're weak, but because you've come too far not to see what God was building behind the scenes. The story is about to shift. The timing is about to align. And when it does, it will happen in such a way that no man will be able to take the credit. It will be undeniably God. There were moments in your life when you stood before doors that looked promising, and yet they never opened. Opportunities you believed were yours slipped through your fingers like water. You knocked, you waited, you believed, but all you received was silence. To the natural eye, it felt like rejection. It felt like you weren't good enough, like something was wrong with you. But in the eyes of heaven, it wasn't rejection. It was redirection. It wasn't denial. It was divine covering. God was not trying to keep you out. He was keeping you safe. There are doors that shine with appeal but are laced with danger on the other side. Not every open path is a blessed one, and not every opportunity is from heaven. Sometimes what looks golden from the outside is filled with compromise, deception, and destruction on the inside. God, in His mercy, closed what you cried for, not because He wanted you to suffer, but because He didn't want you to settle. He was protecting you from things you couldn't see, from people who smiled in your face but had no intention of walking with you in purpose. And so He let the door remain shut. You thought it was the enemy resisting you, but sometimes it was God saying, not this way, not with them, not yet. You were pleading for access, but He was preserving your anointing. The door you desired was too small for the destiny He wrote for you. It could not contain your growth. It could not hold the fullness of who you were becoming. So while others were walking through doors with ease, God was taking you the long way, not to punish you, but to prepare you for something greater. The truth is, the doors that didn't open were never built for your calling. They were designed to distract you, to dilute your focus, and to detour you from the lane heaven carved just for you. And when God shuts a door, He does it with finality. No amount of pushing, manipulating, or negotiating will change it. Because it's not about what's behind the door. It's about what's inside of you. If you had entered some places too soon, it would have corrupted your vision, distorted your values, and drained your strength. So in His love, He blocked it, not to frustrate you, but to preserve what He placed within you. Understand that protection doesn't always feel like protection. Sometimes it feels like delay, heartbreak, or even humiliation. But in the wisdom of God, closed doors become divine shields. You don't realize it in the moment, but later, as clarity unfolds, you'll look back and thank God for what didn't happen. You'll thank Him for the job that didn't hire you, the relationship that didn't work out, the platform that overlooked you, because now you see it wasn't a loss. It was leading. It wasn't failure. It was foundation. Some of the most anointed people are not the ones who were celebrated the loudest, but the ones who were hidden the longest. Hidden by God, protected by silence, preserved by what others called rejection. God allowed you to be misunderstood because He didn't want you to be misused. He let the wrong people walk away because He didn't want them to pollute the next level of your journey. He let the door stay shut until your spirit was strong enough to recognize the counterfeit and wait for the authentic. Because the door that's coming, the one God Himself is crafting, is not just an entrance, it's an encounter. It won't just let you in, it will launch you forward. It won't just provide a moment, it will initiate a movement. And when you walk through it, you'll realize why the others didn't open. They weren't big enough, deep enough, or divine enough. They were merely options. But what God is about to release is your ordained opportunity. Every time you were passed over, heaven was positioning you. Every time you were told no, the oil within you was being preserved. You weren't being deprived. You were being developed. And when the right door opens, you'll walk through it with a strength that came from seasons of silence, with a wisdom that was birthed in private battles, and with a discernment that can only come from knowing what it means to wait on God. So don't mourn the doors that didn't open. Don't waste another moment grieving what didn't go your way. Those closed doors were a divine favor dressed in disguise. They didn't block you, they blessed you. They didn't hinder you. They helped shape the version of you that's ready to carry the weight of what's coming. You were being hidden for glory. You were being protected for purpose. And soon, when the right door opens, you'll understand that the ones that closed were never losses. They were proof of how deeply heaven was invested in your destiny. There is a kind of door that not only shifts your season, but redefines your identity. And that kind of door, the one that comes straight from the throne room of God, is not handed to the unready. It requires a vessel that has been shaped, pressed, and matured in silence. It is not opened by casual hope or shallow desire. It responds only to preparation. What heaven is about to unlock in your life is too weighty, too sacred, and too strategic to be placed in the hands of someone who only wants applause but has no depth to carry the assignment. You must understand that God doesn't give platforms. He gives purpose. And when purpose is being cultivated, it often looks like isolation. It looks like routine obedience with no recognition. It looks like nights of worship with no answers, tears that no one sees, and prayers that only echo in the dark. But it is in these hidden seasons that God does his deepest work. He is not rushing you into a moment. He is preparing you to walk in a mantle. The door that's coming is not just about what's on the other side. It's about who you've become on this side. You see, open doors are not merely invitations. They are tests. They test your integrity, your motives, your endurance, and your capacity to handle pressure without losing identity. And that is why God takes his time. He's not looking to promote who you pretend to be. He's preparing to elevate who you've allowed him to shape. The door won't open because you want it. It will open when you're ready for the responsibility that comes with it. Because every blessing brings a burden. Every new level demands a new level of discipline, discernment, and devotion. There's a difference between being gifted and being prepared. Gifting might open small doors, but only preparation sustains the ones that shift history. And many people want to be seen, but they haven't been stretched. They want to be chosen, but they haven't been chiseled. They desire the promise, but they've resisted the process. Yet God, in his mercy, won't allow a door to open that you're not prepared to survive. He would rather delay your arrival than watch your character crumble under pressure. So if it's taking longer than you expected, don't despise it. Embrace it. God is not denying you. He is refining you. He's not punishing you. He's pruning the parts of you that can't go where you're headed. He's teaching you how to be faithful when no one is watching, how to be excellent when no one is clapping, how to keep your heart pure when others prosper with dirty hands. Because the door he's about to open isn't for performance, it's for purpose. And that purpose demands a vessel that has been prepared in secret to carry power in public. The truth is, anyone can step onto a stage, but not everyone can steward what comes with influence. Not everyone can handle the warfare that comes with visibility, the responsibility that comes with authority, or the humility required to carry greatness without losing their soul. That's why God prepares you in silence. That's why he lets you go unnoticed, lets your name be forgotten, lets you be underestimated, not to wound you, but to forge something within you that fame can't fabricate. The weight of what's coming cannot rest on shallow foundations. You can't walk through a divine door with a divided heart or an undisciplined mind. God must first anchor you in identity before he gives you authority. He must test your motives before he trusts you with momentum. And the moment he sees that you are no longer chasing the door, but becoming the person who can sustain what's behind it, that's when the door will swing open. Preparation is the proof of your readiness. It's not just about what you say. It's about what you've survived. It's about how you've endured when nothing made sense, how you chose to keep walking when the road was silent, and how you obeyed when there was no guarantee. These are the things heaven watches. These are the things that prove you're not just interested, you're invested, that you're not just talented, you're trustworthy. And when the door does open, it will be more than an opportunity. It will be a confirmation, a declaration that you have been shaped in the fire, molded in the waiting, and trusted in the testing. You'll walk through with quiet strength, not needing to announce your arrival, because your preparation will speak for you. It will be evident that you were not handed the moment, you were built for it. And when you step in, what you carry will not just shift the room, it will shift the realm. Because God doesn't open great doors for unprepared people. He opens them for those who allowed him to do the deep work, the hidden work, the quiet, holy, painful, refining work. And once that work is done, nothing and no one can stop what God is about to release through you. There are moments in life when pain wraps around you so tightly, you begin to question whether anything meaningful can ever grow out of it. You've walked through seasons where loss felt louder than purpose, where your heart carried more weight than your hands, and where silence from heaven made you wonder if God had forgotten your name. But here's the truth that time often reveals. Your pain was never pointless. It was never wasted. It was never random. It was working in you something far greater than what you could see at the time. God does not allow suffering without strategy. He doesn't permit brokenness without blueprint. What you called tragedy, he called training. What you labeled as a setback, he labeled as soul development. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your future. Every lonely night became a classroom for your character. And every unanswered prayer created space for divine revelation. Pain has a voice, and when God allows it to speak into your life, it leaves you wiser, stronger, deeper, and more sensitive to his leading. There were times you were misunderstood, falsely accused, and rejected. Times when those you trusted walked away and never turned back. You didn't just lose people, you lost peace, you lost rhythm, you lost parts of yourself you never thought you'd get back. But what looked like a breakdown on the surface was actually a breakthrough in disguise. While others only saw the ashes, heaven was already working on the beauty that would rise from them. Because God is not just the God of comfort, he's the God of transformation. And he specializes in taking what was meant to destroy you and turning it into the very foundation of your testimony. You didn't go through what you went through for nothing. That heartache, that season of betrayal, that chapter of hidden suffering, it all had purpose. You were being shaped in places no one could see. You were being forged in fires no one could feel. And though it looked like you were losing, heaven was actually investing in you. You were gaining weight in the spirit, gaining discernment, gaining depth. God was not punishing you. He was pulling out everything shallow in you and replacing it with roots that could anchor destiny. You see, people often want elevation without endurance. They want the spotlight without the scars. But real authority is born out of adversity. The kind of authority that shifts atmospheres and carries legacy doesn't come from ease. It comes from enduring what should have broken you but didn't. From surviving what was meant to silence you, but instead ignited your voice. And that's why your pain matters. Not because it defines you, but because it has refined you. Everything you thought disqualified you is the very thing God is using to qualify you. He's taking the wounds and turning them into wisdom. He's taking the struggle and shaping it into strength. The parts of you that were crushed are now becoming channels for compassion. The things you thought would ruin your future are now part of the reason your future carries power. Your story has weight because it's been soaked in truth. You don't speak from theory. You speak from survival. There is nothing you endured that God will leave unused. He is the master recycler of pain. He takes what others throw away, the broken pieces, the shattered dreams, the forgotten prayers, and he builds something eternal from them. And when people look at you and wonder how you made it, how you kept your sanity, how you still have joy, they won't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the mornings you had to drag yourself out of despair, or the silent prayers you whispered while everyone else thought you were fine. But God saw it all, and he's been building something sacred from it. You didn't walk through fire just to say you were burned. You walked through so you could carry the flame of purpose. You carry insight now. You carry depth. You carry an understanding of God's mercy that can't be taught in classrooms. You know what it's like to be broken and rebuilt, empty and filled, cast down but not destroyed. That kind of faith, forged in affliction, can't be shaken by storms or stolen by critics. So never be ashamed of your past seasons. Don't hide the pain or bury the memories. God isn't trying to erase your history. He's trying to redeem it. He's going to use the very things that once made you question your worth to demonstrate your calling. The same mouth that once cried, "Why me?" will soon declare, "Thank you, Lord," because what once felt like punishment will soon reveal itself as preparation for purpose. And in the days to come, when the door opens and you walk into a place you never imagined reaching, you'll look back and realize it was the pain that made you ready. The suffering didn't stop the story, it shaped it. And the shift you're about to walk into is built on everything you survived. That is why nothing you went through will be wasted, because with God, even your wounds carry glory. What is coming your way is not simply a blessing dressed in better circumstances. It is a divine shift in direction, a complete rerouting of everything you thought you knew about your life's trajectory. This is not just a new chapter, not merely a fresh start. It is a holy interruption, a shift so profound that it won't just change your environment. It will change the essence of who you are and how your life speaks. This isn't about small upgrades. It's about supernatural transition. It's about being repositioned for something that looks nothing like your past, but everything like what God had in mind before you ever took your first breath. What many call a blessing, heaven calls a shift. Because while blessings can be seasonal, a divine shift is eternal. It reconfigures not only your current situation, but the storyline of your existence. It doesn't just drop resources in your hand. It changes the atmosphere you operate in. It realigns your purpose with heaven's pulse. And when God initiates this kind of shift, it begins in silence. It begins when things no longer make sense, when comfort fades and restlessness rises, when doors you used to walk through with ease suddenly close, and you feel like you're standing between what was and what hasn't yet arrived. That's not confusion. That's the sound of transition. That's the evidence that a shift is underway. You've prayed for change, but this is more than that. This is transformation. It's the divine unfolding of what you were always meant to step into, but couldn't access until now. Because there are seasons when God doesn't just want to improve your life. He wants to invade it. He wants to override what you thought was your final destination and bring you into alignment with the version of your life that only He saw while you were still growing in obscurity. And to do that, He doesn't just shift circumstances, He shifts you. He shifts your mind, your language, your focus. He starts pulling your attention away from things that used to matter and stirring your hunger for things you never noticed before. Suddenly, comfort becomes too small, familiarity becomes frustrating, and average becomes unbearable. Not because you're arrogant, but because your spirit recognizes that God is getting ready to move you. And when He moves you, He never moves you into less. He moves you into more purpose, more clarity, more responsibility, more impact. But He can't move you externally until He's shifted something within you internally. That's why the shift feels like tension at first, like disruption, because God starts removing what you've outgrown, relationships, roles, patterns, and perspectives. He begins calling you out of the identity that was molded by your past and into the identity that reflects your divine design. You are not who you were, and this shift is proof of that. What used to satisfy you no longer fills you, not because something is wrong, but because something is being reborn. A divine shift breaks cycles. It interrupts timelines. It forces you to see that what once made sense now serves a different purpose, to remind you of how far you've come and to give you the strength to go even further. This is the moment when God says, "You've dwelt long enough on this mountain. Now rise and move forward." And when He speaks like that, mountains begin to tremble, chains start breaking, and what seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. This shift will not just change what you do, it will change how heaven uses you. It will reposition you from survival to significance. You won't just be managing your life, you'll be multiplying impact. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who can't understand the weight of your calling and start walking in quiet authority, knowing you are exactly where you're supposed to be. People may not recognize you after this shift. Some won't understand why you no longer fit where you used to flow. They'll try to connect with the old version of you, not realizing that God has upgraded your spirit without needing to post an announcement. You've been evolving in silence, and now your life is about to speak in volumes that words never could. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the shift. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. And when it happens, when this shift fully reveals itself, you'll look back at every moment of waiting, every tear, every loss, every battle, and you'll know none of it was in vain, because what's coming will be so weighty, so drenched in glory, that it will demand every ounce of growth you endured to get here. You'll realize that God didn't just change your location, He redefined your purpose. This is not just your next step. This is your leap. The kind of leap that catapults you from wondering if you were seen to knowing that you were marked all along. The kind of shift that confirms you didn't miss it. You were being positioned for something so much greater. The door is not just about entering into a new space. It's about emerging as a new vessel. And when God does it, nothing will look the same because everything will have aligned with heaven's plan. There are doors in life that no amount of striving, networking, or talent can open. They are not influenced by human hands, titles, or connections. They do not respond to effort. They respond to divine timing. These are doors that belong solely to God, doors that bear His fingerprint and are sealed until He alone decides to unlock them. And when He opens such a door, no force in hell, no opinion from man, no resistance from the enemy can close it. Because what God ordains, no system can stop. What He approves, no one can override. His authority is final and His word is the key. You may have tried everything you knew how to try. You may have knocked on doors that remained closed, cried over opportunities that passed you by, and wondered if you would ever see your moment. But what felt like rejection was not always the devil's attack. Sometimes it was God Himself holding the door shut, not to punish you, but to protect what He placed in you. Because when you carry something sacred, something that was formed in prayer and fire, God will not allow just any space to house your destiny. He will withhold access from places that don't honor your purpose, and He will close doors you would have walked through had He not stood in the way. It's easy to grow weary when you see others being promoted, celebrated, or elevated before you. It's tempting to question whether your obedience is seen, whether your faith is producing anything, whether you're somehow disqualified because the timing seems off. But heaven does not operate on human timelines. What looks like delay is often divine orchestration. God was not ignoring you. He was aligning something greater than what you were reaching for. And when the right moment comes, not a second too early, not a second too late, that door will open and it will not require your strength to keep it open. The doors that God opens don't need human permission. They don't bow to politics. They don't answer to favoritism, and they don't require public endorsement. God does not ask for consensus when He decides to elevate you. He does not need the approval of your peers or the agreement of your past. When He says it's time, it is time. And what opens for you will be so divinely constructed that no one will be able to explain it through natural terms. It won't be luck. It won't be coincidence. It will be a testimony wrapped in undeniable evidence that God's hand was on you all along. And when this door opens, you won't have to fight to stay in the room. You won't have to convince people of your worth. You won't have to strive to keep your seat, because the favor that opens a door by God's command also preserves your place within it. You'll enter into spaces you didn't apply for, receive invitations you didn't campaign for, and be remembered in moments you weren't even present for. That's how heaven works. That's how divine authority moves. Subtly, powerfully, and with finality. But God will never open a door that distracts you from Him. He will not bless you into pride. He will not elevate you into destruction. That's why some doors took longer. That's why some paths were blocked. Because your calling is too costly to be compromised by premature access. He needed to refine your heart, stretch your obedience, and test your motives. He needed to ensure that when the door opened, your worship wouldn't shift, your posture wouldn't change, and your identity wouldn't be tangled in the applause of men. Because the danger of doors that man opens is that man believes he can close them. But when God opens a door, it stands. No scandal can destroy it. No jealousy can erase it. No enemy can undo it. What's established by heaven is sustained by heaven. And you can walk through it with peace, not pressure, because it was never about proving yourself. It was about positioning yourself. So don't fear the closed doors. Don't mourn the seasons where nothing seemed to move. Don't waste time knocking on what God has shut. If it didn't open, it wasn't yours. If it passed you by, it was protection in disguise. Because the door He's about to open won't just give you access. It will give you impact. It will align with your purpose, stretch your influence, and magnify your assignment. And it will be clear that it had nothing to do with manipulation or performance, and everything to do with grace. You don't have to force what is God ordained. You don't have to compete for what He's already written with your name on it. What He opens will recognize you, receive you, and respond to you. And when you step through it, you'll know it wasn't man, it wasn't chance, it wasn't luck. It was the sovereign move of a faithful God whose timing is perfect, whose plan is unstoppable, and whose favor opens doors that no one can shut. There are seasons in your life when everything around you begins to shift, and yet nothing on the outside seems to change. But deep within you, something is happening, something invisible, something irreversible. It's not always loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or public announcements, but you start to feel it. The old version of you begins to lose its grip. The person who used to shrink back, who used to question their value, who used to second guess every step, that person begins to fade. Not because you've achieved more, but because you've grown into the truth of who you were always meant to be. God will never open a divine door to a divided identity. That's why before the door opens, He begins by changing you. He starts by separating you from former ways of thinking, healing you from hidden wounds, and detaching you from the labels others tried to place on your future. You've been called by heaven, not crafted by history. And as this new door approaches, God is making sure that the version of you who walks through it is no longer tied to the version of you who barely survived the last season. This kind of transformation isn't cosmetic. It doesn't happen on the surface. It's deep, quiet, and sometimes painful. He strips away your need for approval. He unhooks you from the opinions that used to control your steps. He begins to make you allergic to small thinking and allergic to settling for anything less than purpose. The shift in identity begins with small things. You stop explaining your value. You stop begging to be understood. You stop placing your worth in temporary validation. And instead you begin to anchor yourself in what God says, in what God showed you in secret, even when the evidence isn't visible yet. It's a holy upgrade, and it cannot be reversed. This is the part of the process where God is not asking who you think you are. He's reminding you who you really are. Not the version shaped by fear or failure, but the one He designed before the world saw you. Before they gave you a name, He gave you an assignment. Before they gave you pain, He gave you power. And now, as the door begins to form before you, the former self cannot be allowed to follow you in. It has to be left behind. Because this door doesn't just require courage, it demands clarity. There is no room for confusion at the threshold of destiny. You must walk through this door with a renewed mind, a restored heart, and a clear understanding that you are not the same. You are not walking through to prove something. You are walking through because you've been prepared for it. And preparation has nothing to do with applause. It has everything to do with alignment. God has aligned your thoughts, your words, your posture. You no longer carry the weight of who you were pretending to be. You now move with the substance of who He says you are. There were times you would have hesitated, times when doubt would have made you shrink at the very idea of such a door. But this time, something in you knows you're not walking in broken. You're walking in bold, not because you're perfect, but because you're healed. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally trust the one who does. You are no longer seeking permission from places that never understood your purpose in the first place. You've stopped asking people to agree with something God already settled. And it's that kind of posture that heaven honors, that internal shift, that quiet decision to no longer be who pain tried to make you, but instead to walk in the fullness of who you were always created to be. The door that is opening isn't for the insecure version of you. It's for the one who understands that strength doesn't come from pretending. It comes from surrender. It comes from letting God remove the false layers and rebuild you on a foundation of truth. You're not stepping in with the weight of past failures. You're stepping in with the wisdom they taught you. You're not carrying bitterness. You're carrying breakthrough. The shift in identity has taught you how to lead with grace, how to stand with integrity, and how to move with humility even when elevation comes. And that is why the door will receive you, because you are no longer carrying fragments of who you used to be. You are whole. There is something powerful about a person who has been remade by God, someone who has died to who they were and come alive to who they were called to be. That's what this shift has done in you. It has unmasked the truth, unlocked the core, and unleashed the voice that had been silenced by years of disappointment. And now, with that identity restored, you are ready, not just to walk through a door, but to own the room it leads to, not with ego, but with authority that only comes from alignment. This door was never about arrival. It was about revealing what's been inside you all along. And now that you've shed the fear, silenced the doubt, and embraced the version of yourself heaven has always known, there is no going back. Because once God has elevated your identity, you can never again live beneath it. There are moments in life when the magnitude of what God is doing stretches far beyond your present understanding. You begin to sense that this shift is not just about you. It's not only about your growth, your healing, or your breakthrough. It's about something deeper, wider, and far more lasting. What is coming is not just a personal victory. It is a generational shift. What God is unlocking in this season is designed to outlive you, to echo beyond your years, and to break cycles that have held your bloodline hostage for far too long. There are certain doors that don't just open for convenience. They open to reroute entire legacies. You may have thought this was about you getting to the next level, but heaven sees it differently. Heaven sees you as the interruption in your family's timeline, the one chosen to end what others endured, the one called to carry what others dropped. You were never just the next in line. You were the line shifter, the one through whom God would shift everything. The battles you fought in silence, the trauma you healed without applause, the decisions you made to walk differently from what you saw growing up, those were not just personal choices. They were prophetic turning points. This is why the warfare was so intense. This is why the enemy fought you so early. Because what you carry threatens to cancel every narrative of limitation that ran through your family for generations. You were the one hell couldn't afford to let wake up. Because once you discovered that your purpose had legacy attached to it, you became a threat. Not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. Not because of your perfection, but because of your persistence. You didn't just survive for yourself. You survived so those coming after you would never have to start from where you did. And now God is about to open a door so wide that it reaches both backward and forward. It reaches into the pain of the generations before you and redeems it. And it stretches into the future to provide a foundation for generations you haven't even seen yet. You may be the first in your family to break free from scarcity, fear, addiction, or silence, but you will not be the last to walk in purpose, to carry peace, to know God in spirit and in truth. You are the first of many. You are the beginning of a lineage of builders, visionaries, and carriers of divine wisdom. The shift is generational because God is writing a new narrative through you. He's replacing dysfunction with destiny, fear with faith, lack with legacy. He's healing what no one dared to confront and elevating what others thought would never rise. And it's not because you're flawless. It's because you said yes. You chose not to repeat what you saw. You chose to become what no one modeled for you. And for that obedience, for that unseen sacrifice, God is responding with a door that will birth more than blessings. It will birth a legacy. What you're stepping into will redefine how your children think, how your family believes, how your bloodline sees God. You're not just walking through for a title or a platform. You're walking through as a gatekeeper, as a protector of a future that has been waiting for someone courageous enough to say, it ends with me and it starts with me. This is not just about what God will give to you. It's about what He will establish through you. Your decisions in this season matter more than you know. Your posture, your prayer life, your integrity, they are setting a blueprint for those who will follow you. You are planting seeds that your grandchildren will harvest. You are laying bricks in a road your great-grandchildren will walk. You may never hear their names, but your obedience will echo in their victories. They will win battles you prayed through. They will inherit peace you fought for, and they will walk in favor that was born in your wilderness. So when you feel weary, remember, this is bigger than you. When you feel overlooked, remember, heaven is watching legacy. When the process seems slow, remember, God is not just writing a moment, He's writing a movement. He's building something with weight, with longevity, with purpose that stretches through time. He's using you to set new standards, to break spiritual strongholds, to introduce a level of faith and excellence that your lineage has never known before. This door that is coming is not ordinary. It is drenched in legacy. It carries the sound of redemption, the evidence of generational healing, and the fragrance of divine favor. And when you walk through it, it will not be just your name that rises. It will be your bloodline that lifts. It will be your lineage that breathes differently. Because you were willing to carry the weight, they will be able to walk in the wind. Because you chose to believe when there was no example, they will live without chains. And that is why God has been so intentional with your process. That is why He has refined you with such care. Because what you are about to step into will leave footprints long after you are gone. And generations from now, they will rise and bless your name. Not because you were perfect, but because you were chosen. Because you said yes. Because you opened the door that changed everything. There comes a moment in your journey when what God is preparing to do in your life cannot remain hidden any longer. Not because you sought visibility, not because you fought for a spotlight, but because the time has come for His glory to be revealed through the story you tried to survive. This isn't about fame or personal recognition. It's about divine demonstration. God is about to place you in a position where what He did in secret will become undeniable in public. The doors that are about to open will not just elevate you, they will vindicate you. There are seasons when God allows your obedience to be quiet, your sacrifice to be unseen, your battles to be fought behind closed doors. You remained faithful when no one noticed. You kept serving when your name wasn't called. You prayed in silence, fasted in secret, wept in the dark, and for a long time it seemed like no one cared, like heaven was quiet and people around you were advancing while you stood still. But what you didn't know was that your consistency was not being ignored. It was being recorded. Heaven took note of every moment you chose purpose over popularity, every time you chose discipline over shortcuts. God often allows misunderstanding to protect maturity. He keeps you hidden so you can grow without pressure. He allows people to overlook you so you can learn not to depend on their applause. But when the appointed time comes, when the foundation is strong and your heart is anchored, He pulls back the curtain and reveals what He's been shaping all along. He brings honor to the places that once brought you pain. He gives clarity where confusion once reigned. And He doesn't just elevate, He justifies. He brings proof to what others once questioned. Those who doubted you will have no choice but to see what God is doing, not because you need their validation, but because God knows how to silence every false narrative. This next door will do more than bless you. It will clear your name. It will speak for the seasons where you had no voice. It will answer the people who asked, "Where is your God now?" It will be your visible testimony, not crafted by your hands, but curated by God's sovereign timing. You see, vindication doesn't come from shouting back at those who misunderstood you. It doesn't come from proving yourself to people who were never meant to see your value. True vindication comes when God places His signature on your life, when He shows that it was Him all along, that it was never about being seen, but about being prepared, that you were never forgotten, only preserved. The same people who thought you had lost will witness the greatness you now carry. The same voices that questioned your process will have no words to speak when they see the promise. And the beauty of it all is that when God vindicates, He does it with grace. There is no need for revenge, no need for bitterness. He elevates you with dignity. He honors you without requiring you to defend yourself. Because when the door opens, it won't just be wide. It will be right timing, right place, right posture. It will match the growth you cultivated in obscurity. It will reflect the depth you earned in pain. And it will confirm that every delay was deliberate. Every rejection was redirection. Every loss was hidden preparation for this very moment. This is why you had to go through it alone, why no one understood, why you were misunderstood by those closest to you. Because if they had seen the weight of what you were carrying, they would have tried to interfere, interrupt, or even imitate. But God kept it covered until it was too late for anyone to stop it. And now the unveiling is near. The same God who molded you in secret is about to magnify you in sight, not for your glory, but for His, so that others will know He still lifts the lowly, still rewards the faithful, still restores the overlooked. What's coming is not about pride, it's about power. It's about walking through doors that you didn't have to force, into rooms you didn't manipulate to enter, with favor you didn't hustle to earn. It's about walking in the fruit of obedience, the overflow of grace, and the harvest of seeds sown in seasons of silence. And no one will be able to deny it. They won't be able to say it was luck or networking or connections, because it will be too precise, too purposeful, too perfect to be anything but God. So don't waste time explaining yourself to those who never saw your value. Let the door do the talking. Let the favor speak for itself. Let the light of what's coming make clear what the darkness tried to distort. Because the season of being hidden is ending. The season of being misunderstood is fading. And the door that God is about to open won't just lift your life. It will silence every lie. Not with shouting, but with shining. Not with arguments, but with evidence. And when that happens, you won't need to say a word. Your life will speak loud enough. There is a unique kind of door God opens. One that not only brings change, but demands courage. It is not the kind of door that appears during moments of comfort or predictability. It doesn't open when you feel most ready, most equipped, or most qualified. In fact, it often shows up in the middle of uncertainty, when you least expect it, and when you feel least prepared. This is the kind of divine door that calls you to walk by faith and not by sight. It requires you to step forward without a full map, to move while questions are still unanswered, and to trust God more than your own understanding. God doesn't wait until you feel bold to invite you into greatness. He often opens the door before you feel confident, not to confuse you, but to stretch you. The open door is not just about opportunity, it's about obedience. It's about trusting that if He opened it, He will also sustain you through it. The unfamiliarity of the next level is by design. It's meant to grow your faith, not feed your fears, because what's ahead of you will require a different kind of strength, the kind that is not built on certainty, but on surrender. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move despite it. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is take one faithful step forward. Shaky knees, uncertain thoughts, trembling hands, but forward anyway. Because when God opens a door, He is not looking for perfect people to walk through it. He's looking for willing hearts. Hearts that say, I don't know what's waiting for me, but I trust who sent me. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith brings heaven to earth. This door that is opening is not about comfort, it's about calling. It will stretch you, it will challenge you, it will pull you away from familiar territory and push you into spaces where you must rely fully on God. But that's exactly where transformation lives. In the tension between what you knew and what you're about to become. God didn't bring you this far to show you a door you're too afraid to enter. He brought you here to remind you that everything you need is already in you. You've been prepared in ways you didn't even recognize. The battles you fought, the wisdom you earned, the nights you endured, all of it was molding a spirit strong enough to carry what's ahead. There's something sacred about walking into the unknown with God, because every step becomes a declaration. I trust you more than what I see. I choose purpose over comfort. I choose destiny over delay. And every time you take a step in faith, heaven responds. Doors that looked impossible begin to open wider. Resources you didn't expect start showing up. Favor begins to follow you, not because of who you are, but because of who you're following. And it's not just about you. Your courage becomes a signal to others, a light in dark places. When you walk through this door boldly, you make it easier for those behind you to walk through theirs. You prove that fear doesn't win, that faith still works, that God still honors the bold. Your life becomes a testimony that obedience opens what fear tried to shut. The enemy will always try to whisper that you're not ready, that you're not enough, that you'll fail once you cross the threshold. But those are lies designed to keep you stagnant. Because the truth is, readiness in the kingdom of God is not about having everything figured out. It's about having a heart that says yes. A heart that says, I'd rather step and fall with God than stay and fall into regret. God will not let you walk through a divine door and abandon you on the other side. If he calls you into it, he's already gone before you. And when you walk through it, not with perfection, but with trust, you'll discover a version of yourself you didn't know was possible. You'll tap into strength that was dormant, wisdom that was buried, and courage that had been waiting for its assignment. The moment you step, the shift begins. And every single step after that becomes easier because now you know you were made for this. You were never meant to play small, to shrink, to retreat when the door opened. You were meant to rise. This is not just a season of opportunity. It's a season of bravery, of moving in faith, speaking life, and showing up even when everything in you says hide. And as you walk, heaven will honor you, not because you're fearless, but because you chose faith anyway. That's what changes everything. That's what causes God to pour favor that can't be explained, to release blessings you didn't earn, to place you in rooms you never thought you'd enter, all because you were bold enough to walk through the door when it opened, not knowing what was next, just knowing that God was already there. You've come too far to hesitate now. Every battle you've endured, every tear you've cried in silence, every door that was once shut in your face, it was all leading to this moment. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of a divine unveiling. God is about to open a door so massive, so undeniable, that it will make every delay, every detour, and every disappointment make sense. Not one moment was wasted. Not one struggle went unseen. What you thought was breaking you was actually building you, molding your spirit, deepening your faith, and strengthening your character. Now heaven is shifting, the winds are changing, and you are standing on the threshold of something greater than what you prayed for. This door is not just for your benefit, it's for his glory. It's not about elevation alone, but transformation. You're not just stepping into a new level, you're stepping into the fulfillment of destiny. The kind of shift that echoes through generations, the kind of door that only opens once everything within you has been aligned with what's about to be released. So don't look back. Don't second guess. Don't allow fear to steal what faith has built. Walk forward with authority. Walk forward with expectation. Because what's ahead of you is not random. It's righteous. And when that door opens, walk through it, not as someone unsure, but as someone chosen, because that's who you are. Chosen, appointed, prepared, ready. And no force on earth or in hell can stop a door that God himself has decided to open. Now go. Not wondering if it will open, but knowing the door is already swinging wide. And when you step through, step boldly, step fully, step like someone whose entire life has been waiting for this exact moment, because it has. And now it's here.